This is Golf with Jay Delsing. A two-time All-American at UCLA. A participant in nearly 700 PGA Tour events. 7 professional wins to his credit. Over 30 years of professional golf experience. A member of the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. This is Golf with Jay Delsing.
This is Golf with Jay Delsing. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jay Delsing over there. Happy holidays to everyone, and hopefully you're having a great holiday season. This is our best of show, some of the best interviews and visits that we've had throughout the year, and we'll be replaying those interviews throughout the next 2 hours. We hope you enjoy it. It's the best of Golf with Jay Delsing. Often in sports and in business, when talking about someone's success, you hear about the support system that he or she may have, and there's none better in the game of golf than Barbara Nicklaus. And Barbara, thanks for joining us. We certainly appreciate it.
Well, it's such a nice compliment that you asked.
Oh, my gosh, Barbara, the first lady of golf, I think about the things that you've done, and I think it would be really, really interesting to let the listeners get a little background on you and Jack and how you met and playing the tour back in the days. I think it would be really interesting.
Oh, my gosh, that could take a week, Jay. Jack and I actually met the first week of our freshman year in college, and I knew nothing about golf, and he actually really wasn't playing much golf at that time. I mean, just kind of getting into it. And my dad was a high school math teacher, so there was really no golf in our family. And so we just we dated the first quarter in school, and got to about the holidays, and thought, oh, maybe time to maybe see other people. So we did for almost 2 months, and then got back together in February, and we were married between our junior and senior year. So that part kind of flew by.
Well, when you are married as long as you guys have been, you have different initiatives in life, whether it's in golf or philanthropy, and that's really the main reason we wanted to talk to you about and what you've done for children. How did that all start for you? And maybe you can give our listeners that don't know the background of what you went through as a family, and that's now been able to raise millions of dollars because of a scary incident within your family.
Well, I think it all began when our daughter Nan was 11 months old, and she started choking. And she would choke at home and then be fine. By the time I get her to the doctor, she'd be fine. Or at that time, he would even run by the house and she'd be fine. So finally he said, Barbara, there's something wrong with this child. So they did an x-ray, found a little shadow, and then they did a bronchoscopy and discovered she had inhaled about 9 pieces of blue crayon. So, of course, when they got in the windpipe, it was choking her, but when they moved, she was fine. So in the process of doing the bronchoscopy, they dropped the piece of crayon in her lung, which, of course, went into pneumonia, and we sat by an oxygen tent for 6 days just praying that she was going to make it. So we looked at each other as young parents and said, you know what? If we're ever in a position to help someone, we want it to be children. So we weren't in any position then, but when we were, we just started our foundation in 2004 and sort of just helped small agencies and small diseases in our area. And then it was interesting. Miami Children's Hospital, we had done some things with them, and they kind of wanted to be a more global hospital. So they asked if they could use our name, which they now have changed Miami Children's Hospital to Nicklaus Children's Hospital. So we've come a long way, and we're so proud of what's going on and how we've been able to help children, which is, I think, one of my favorite sayings, that's a baby is God's opinion that the world should go on. So there's nothing better or more wonderful than a healthy child.
Oh, Barbara, I love that saying. And, when I think about the PGA Tour, and you guys were there from, pretty much the inception, if you think back, did you ever envision where we would be today? I mean, millions and tens and hundreds of millions of dollars just that golf has raised, and then you as a family.
Well, I think any of the golfers is so proud of what's been done. The golfers get it, Jay. I mean, they just They want to give back, and I think this generation, now the young ones, they give back so quickly, and I think it's wonderful. I think golf gives more to charity than all the other national sports put together. So I think all the guys on the tour are very proud of that. We're proud of them.
We're going to get back to some of that, but I'm curious, what was it like when you're watching your husband playing the Masters or playing a major, and you're probably biting nails over there? What was that like watching him do his thing?
Well, it's kind of funny. People accuse me of looking like I'm at a tea party, which I'm really not. But, I didn't know golf existed when I met Jack. So actually watching him play, I really didn't know I was supposed to be nervous. So I think I just loved watching him and, obviously got really into it and didn't ever want to miss a shot.
Barbara, and you think about Gary, I got to play with Jackie in college and Steve playing football at Florida State, but also a really good player. The offshoots of the game of golf, Barbara, and what your children have done, and the foundations and the golf courses, the communities that people live in, the whole thing has just exploded into this massive golf-related thing.
Well, it's funny, with all the things you just said in that last spiel, family kind of jumped out at me, and I kind of laughed because Jack would fly across country for one of the kids' baseball games. He flew between rounds of the Mexican Open for the kids to play a state high school football game. And I think our kids just thought that's what dads do. Well, now that they're married and have their own, they will say to me, Mom, I can't believe Dad came here. I can't believe Dad came there. And Nan would say to me, Mom, Dad came to more games than the parents that lived in town. So I think that may be what he's most proud of, that he said, I refuse for my kids to go away to college and not know. And believe me, he knew each one of them.
I'm sure, too, you're so proud of the Play Yellow initiative. Can you dive into that for our listeners and explain, Barbara, how that all transpired and what it means to you today?
Well, I'll tell you that I get so emotional when I think of that Play Yellow and how some tiny little thing has grown into this fabulous fundraiser. My minister's wife called me, and it was in the late 60s, and she said, Barbara, our son Craig has just been diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma. He's a big fan of Jack's. Do you think Jack would ever call him? I said, Mary Lou, of course he would call him. Well, fortunately, this turned out to be a wonderful, very personal friendship, and Jack and Craig probably talked at least once a week. And one Sunday night, Jack had called Craig, and it happened to be a tournament he had won that day. And Craig said, Jack, do you know why you won that tournament today? Jack said, no, Craig, why? He said, because I had on my lucky yellow shirt. So from then on, Jack said to Craig, he said, well, if you can wear a lucky yellow shirt for me, I can wear a lucky yellow shirt for you. So we didn't say anything publicly. It was just kind of our little thing. But Jack basically wore a yellow shirt most every Sunday that he played. We lost Craig in 1971. He was 13 years old, but his memory has, stayed with us, and the love that the two of them had for each other. And happened to be an April day in 1986. We're at the Masters, and it's Sunday of the last round. And Jack's kind of rummaging through his suitcase trying to find something to wear. And he pulls out this yellow shirt, and he looks over at me, and he said, what do you think? I said, Jack, I have to wear it, not only in memory of Craig, but in honor of Craig. So when Jack won the Masters in that day, the yellow shirt story kind of became public. And it's grown. And I mean, I think it was 2019 at the Players Championship, Children's Miracle Network and the PGA Tour and our foundation and the two of us came together as a partner, and we made a pledge to raise $100 million in the first 5 years. And we are very excited that when we have our annual meeting in October, that we can actually say we are on track for about $130 million. Funds raised stay locally in the Children's Miracle Network hospitals, which we have about 170 across the U.S. and Canada. So it's just exploded, and so many groups have had 12 sessions or fundraisers for Play Yellow. And I think now when people see yellow on the golf course, they relate it to Play Yellow. And I think we've gotten a lot of donations that way, that people are just excited to be a part of something that helps children.
Barbara, I can say with such honor that the Children's Miracle Network asked me to be their local chair for the event here, and I have learned more about this Play Yellow, since you guys became involved, and it's so dynamic, and it's got so many of the community sponsors involved. It's really special.
Well, I think it's just great. I mean, the Birdies for Children and the Birdie Bash, and what do you call yours? Swing for Miracles, was that it? And
yes.
I think it's just fabulous that a lot of local groups are catching on. And at the memorial tournament a couple of years, we would give a yellow T-shirt to anyone who came in the gate and donated. So it's so emotional for me to think of just a wonderful, beautiful friendship between Jack and Craig has grown into such a wonderful fundraiser.
What's it mean to you, and Barbara Nicklaus is our guest, when you see the players of today wearing the ribbons or wearing that yellow shirt, and the pride that you must have as a family to see that transpire on those weekends and those special days?
I get very emotional when I see that, but I think it's just indicative of how our golfers today feel. They're not out there for themselves, they're out there for others, and I know some of the pros on the tour now, they'll hear we're having a fundraiser and they'll call, how can I help? I mean, it's just fabulous, I think, how the golf world reacts to this.
Barbara, I can just say this as a player, to have someone like the Nicklaus family, you and Jack, as at the top of the heap, being this example, it's super, super special. It means a ton for us to get to learn and get to see, how this is supposed to be done. You talk about how the golfers want to give back. When I first got on tour, you always would look to the leaders of the guys on the tour, and that's where the examples are all laid down. And I know that you still have good relationships with Ricky Fowler and a lot of the younger players as well that kind of come to you for counsel.
Yeah, I call Ricky calls me his other mom, so I was very happy when my little boy won yesterday. That was great.
When you're at the memorial and the players are coming off on the 18th, I'd love to be a fly on the wall of some of those conversations. Can you pull back the curtain a little bit? What are those conversations like with you, Jack, and a player?
Well, really, there's really not much conversation. I mean, they're anxious to get off. They're anxious to sign their scorecards, and they just stop and, just really to be polite to Jack. And, of course, Jack's always thrilled to just say congrats and probably have more conversation later.
When I think about how you and Jack started and the PGA Tour started, and just how, I don't know a better description but saying the world was just kind of smaller. I'm not a huge social media fan and things like that, but there are ways to really tell, like the Play Yellow story, through Facebook and things like that never existed. It's really remarkable when you think about how much these initiatives touch people, touch families' lives all across the world now.
Well, I don't think any of us was really trying to do that. We just thought it was the right thing to do, and then all of a sudden someone would come in from over here, someone would come in from over there, and we thought, hey, this is really something important and something that we can raise a lot of money and do a lot of good for children, for their resources, just whatever. The corporate partners and the industry partners from the tour and the PGA of America, and we just feel like all of a sudden we're reaching communities nationwide, what could be better.
It's fantastic. And one of the things that always interests me, Barbara, when Jack would talk about how many majors he won and said, I was probably good for 2 or 3 of those, but Barbara was really responsible for the others.
He probably just looked over and saw me and said that.
He saw you walk in the room. But Barbara, want to talk a little bit about supporting. I mean, here's the best golfer that's ever played. I mean, just a little bit of insight into family life, because here's a guy flying across country to go to games and to not miss dances and things like that, while still trying to compete at the highest level. There had to be some down moments. Well,
we were married and had Jackie before Jack turned pro. So I not only did not know how to travel with a child, I didn't know how to travel by myself. But I think it just all started very innocently. I just thought that was my place to be, to, to support him. It was, like you said, it was kind of different. It was kind of like a small family back then. If someone else's husband happened to be playing better than Jack, I would keep her kids that day, or vice versa. One of the other wives would keep mine. So it kind of started out like that, and it's just grown. And I think the golfers' wives appreciate everything, and it's very different now. I mean, they have a lot of people traveling with them, and it's very different. And I don't think either one was better. We just thought our realm was the best and the greatest to be in. I guess you just do what you do. And I know sometimes some of the gals will ask for a little advice, and I think the main thing that I really like to say to them is, just because you become a mother, don't forget that you're a wife. And I think that says a lot for the gals out there.
It really does. And I bet some of those other wives really got to know the Nicklaus children because your man played well a lot of times over there. You know what? One of the things I can remember when we had Andy North, I think, on the show, and they talked about that, where we almost had this traveling community where your children would be friends with kids that were also parents were playing on the tour, and then they'd go home and have a different set of friends. And my daughters even had that, Barbara, and it was really kind of a special treat when they'd reunite with other friends.
It is special, and I think we still have, like Andy and Sue North, we still have that friendship today. So I think those are special, and that's what you look back on and treasure.
Well, Barbara, we'll let you go because we know you're busy and you got a lot of money to raise, so that's always good to talk about. But
I'm going to keep trying.
I know you do. So what's the best way for people to find out more about this, educate themselves, and then ultimately, hopefully, donate time and money to what you're doing?
Well, our foundation is Nicklaus Children's Healthcare Foundation, which we formed in 2004, and that benefit, every penny from the memorial tournament goes there, but every penny that goes through our foundation and stays in Columbus. So every penny that we raise around the country stays where it's raised. So I think we're proud of that. And then the Play Yellow organization is just playyellow.org. So, like I said, I get so emotional just saying Play Yellow when I think of our precious Craig. So a lot of good things have happened, and Jack and I are very blessed.
Barbara, we so appreciate your time, and don't stop anytime soon. This country, we golfers, we all need your support. We all need your guidance.
Well, you're very kind, and I'm not so sure about that, but I appreciate it. Fun to talk to you guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Christmas is a time to make memories with the ones we love. Memories of sharing our favorite holiday traditions. Memories of spending time with family. But some kids won't have the memories of opening gifts around the tree. This Christmas, you can make a difference in the lives of Cardinal Glennon kids who won't be home for the holidays. Give your gift today at treeofhope.org and give hope to a child this Christmas.
Daugherty Business Solutions has been enhancing the business of our customers for the last 37 years. How do we do it? Through our expertise in technology, better use of data and analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. We roll up our sleeves and collaborate. We build applications and effectively communicate with our partner clients to bring their goals and objectives to the finish line. Our award-winning Access Point program is a community game changer. With nearly 100 students in the program, mostly young African-American females are making between $55,000 and $60,000 per year right out of high school. That's right, $55,000 to $60,000 a year right after high school graduation. That's when they begin their training. CEO Ron Daugherty believes the talent is equally distributed, but access to that opportunity is not. So here's Access Point, providing more and more opportunity for those in and around our community. It's Daugherty Business Solutions.
Get ready to watch the legends of golf up close when they compete at historic Norwood Hills Country Club right here in St. Louis. The Ascension Charity Classic will be back again with some of golf's greatest names. Steve Stricker, Padraig Harrington, John Daly, David Duval, Bernard Longer, Justin Leonard, David Toms, and more will compete returning September 3rd through the 8th. Visit AscensionCharityClassic.com for information.
Are you driving an out-of-warranty car? It's only a matter of time before your out-of-warranty vehicle is in the shop costing you thousands of dollars. Auto repair costs are up nearly 20% from last year, which is 4 times the rate of inflation. If an unexpected breakdown happened today, would you be ready for that? Well, now you can be with a plan through CarShield. Even if your car is just over 3 years old, it's still prone to expensive costs. Your car is more than just getting you from point A to point B. Traveling by car is a way of life. From picking up your kids to going to a new restaurant, cars are a daily essential. When you enroll in a car protection plan through CarShield, you can look forward to the following. The price will never go up no matter how many claims you file, or no matter how high the mileage on your car increases. CarShield offers protection plans that start as low as $100 per month. That's $100 per month. They have repair coverage for up to 5,000 different parts of your vehicle. Plus, when your car breaks down and you're stuck on the side of the road, you get 24/7 coast-to-coast roadside assistance. You also get complimentary towing and rental car options. CarShield has my back when my car breaks down, and they can have yours too. Call CarShield today at 800-465-6550 or visit carshield.com. It's CarShield, proud sponsor of the Golf with Jay Delsing show.
Hi, this is Peter Jacobson, and you're listening to Golf with Jay Delsing.
If you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, any make or model, then you need to visit the Dean Team Volkswagen of Kirkwood. They are the official vehicle provider of the Golf with Jay Delsing show. My daughter and I both drive vehicles supplied by Colin and the Dean Team Volkswagen of Kirkwood. And the reason we have them is because we know we can trust them. They made the car buying experience painless and very easy. Their customer service is second to none. They provided my daughter with a loaner car when her Passat needed repairs. Every single step of the car buying experience was taken care of for us. You can reach Colin at 314-966-0303, and he will answer all of your questions and put your mind at ease. The Dean Team Volkswagen of Kirkwood has new or pre-owned vehicles to be purchased or leased, whichever you prefer. Once you visit the Dean Team Volkswagen on Manchester and Kirkwood, you'll become a customer for life because they'll treat you like family. The Dean Team Volkswagen of Kirkwood, the official vehicle provider of the Golf with Jay Delsing show.
Auckland, Jay Delsing over there. Happy holidays to everyone, and hopefully you're having a great holiday season. This is our best of show, some of the best interviews and visits that we've had throughout the year, and we'll be replaying those interviews throughout the next 2 hours. We hope you enjoyed. It's the best of Golf with Jay Delsing. It is our pleasure to welcome in 8-time winner on the PGA Tour and Jaybird, truly one of the great putters in the history of golf, and that is Brad Faxon.
No, absolutely. Not only a great putter, but a great human being. Fax, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
I know we've been trying to do this for a long time, Jay. It's great to be on with you finally, and with a contemporary that maybe we think a lot alike in different ways, and lots of daughters.
So many people know you as being an 8-time winner on the PGA Tour, but also as one of the best putters the game has seen. How did you become such a great putter on the PGA Tour?
You know, everybody says to me, you know, after I've played for a long time, oh, you were lucky, you were a good putter. And it really offends me, that phrase or that term of being lucky. I grew up in Rhode Island, where I am now, and was a caddy as a youngster at this Rhode Island Country Club, which was a cool course that had lots of movement, an old Donald Ross styled course. And as a caddy, I was reading greens for members at 12, 13, 14 years old. And, you know, I think the best players in the world, the best putters in the world in particular, this stuff kind of happens organically. You know, I wasn't taught to putt, I learned to putt. And I think there's a big difference there. Specifically, remember watching the putts of these members and seeing the dew line the ball made the early Saturday and Sunday morning rounds. I visualized that all the time, and seeing how much a ball broke, particularly at the end as it lost its speeds. You know, that was one way to do it. And I was, you know, not a kid that was given lessons. I was out on the golf course with my buddies and always playing golf. You know, we had that rule that we used to have that you came home and the street lights are on. It was a great way to learn to play the game.
We had Curtis Strange on the show a couple of weeks ago, Andy North, and even Tom Watson. And there's this common thread, because I know you and I grew up so much the same way, playing all these other sports, and so did they. And it's interesting how, Hogan coined the phrase, dig it out of the dirt, but we did that, didn't really even know it. It was just like, we'd just do whatever we could do to kind of compete and have fun. When you spend your time outside, things kind of evolve.
Isn't it funny? If you looked at so many of the great players, they all did play different sports. They didn't play different sports so they would become better human beings or they would become more well-rounded or better golfers. They did it because they liked sport. I was a guy that played a lot of different racket sports. I played squash. I played table tennis. I played hockey and baseball like a lot of kids up here would have. Some of those little sports turned into be great eye-hand coordinations. They help with short game, learning club face control, particularly table tennis. And you think about some of our great players today that were great short game players. And, you talk about the Ryder Cup room and the table tennis, and, Phil Mickelson, Zach Johnson, Matt Kuchar, who was a great tennis player, even Tiger. And I think there's something to that. And now maybe, I don't know if this is disappointing or just the way things change or changing. You see all these young kids now, they specialize so early and they don't get enough of this skill development, and I like to call it, early on.
When I think about you and putting, and we played, hundreds of rounds together and had so much fun playing. I can never remember a bad time when we were together. And I sit there and think of watching Michael Jordan shoot a free throw, or some of the greats do anything, Albert Pujols or even Stan Musial. There's a common thread, Faxon. These guys are relaxed. I see so many guys that don't putt well look like they're so uptight.
If you listen to most of the great putters of all time and you go back and listen to someone like Ray Floyd, they talked about being comfortable at address. Crenshaw, comfortable at address. Crenshaw in particular said he never tried to stay dead still, where I think sometimes when you try and be still, it can tighten you up. So many of the great putters were, like you said, not only comfortable or relaxed, but they weren't overridden with swing thoughts. I think that, I don't know if this is the never-ending fault I see, but it looks like so many players are today, look like they're trying to read an instruction manual on how to do this. And I certainly don't think there's any instruction manual on how to tell you to be great at this. I have a woman that has a son that wanted to come for lessons, and she goes, I want my son to spend 2 weeks with you in intensive putting training. And just that note got me scared. I go, what is that?
When you decided to make this a profession, and Jay mentioned earlier the great guests we've had on, they've all said, if I could do it differently, I would spend maybe 90% after my round on the putting green and 10% hitting balls after my round. Were you one of those guys that spent more time on your short game, your putting after a round, or were you one of those players that went and pounded balls after your round was done?
Jay and I have talked about this. We're the only sport that practices on a field that's different than the field of play. I wasn't a guy that practiced too much. Now, this is going to sound terrible. I didn't practice putting much when I was at tournaments. When I think you have to figure out, like a great gambler has to feel it out when they're at the casino. Are they comfortable leaving the table? When you get up enough, do you keep going forward or can you walk away? And I think for the best players in the world, and I've talked to Rory McIlroy about this, are you comfortable leaving the driving range? Or are you always trying to figure something out? And that's when I think when players get in trouble. And when you're always trying to solve the riddle, I think you're never complacent. You're always trying to search. And that search mode's it can be a very dangerous thing at times.
You mentioned Ben Crenshaw. Was he one of your biggest influences in terms of learning how to putt because of the things that he talked about with you? Did you apply that, and was he one of your big influences in that regard of the game?
He was a huge influence, and I'll tell you how. In the late 80s, he had already won his first Masters. I was at the Disney World tournament. We played 2 courses back then, the Magnolia and the Palm. And it was a Tuesday afternoon. A friend of mine who was an instructor, Jay, you'd remember the name Gary Smith, an English guy, used to work for Ledbetter, worked for ABC Sports as well. He had a video camera and desperately wanted to get Crenshaw's stroke on video. And Crenshaw happened to be on the putting green on the Palm course. And I'm like, oh boy. So he asked me to go up and ask Crenshaw if he could get videoed. And Ben was nice as he could be and said, sure, come on, get after it. And Ben admitted to both of us, unbelievably, that he wasn't putting that well. And I go, what? Because I wouldn't have thought that, first of all, that he would ever not be putting great, or that he would admit it to us. Through, he said, look, I'm putting at it too much, not through it. And, that was kind of like hard to decipher. What exactly does that mean? He said, and I said, what do you do when you feel like that? He goes, well, I try to let my backstroke be longer than my follow through, which was kind of opposite of what we had always heard. And then he goes, I try to allow or let my head and my knees move when I putt. And then I think Gary Smith dropped the camera at the time. And I'm saying, allow. I said, so you don't worry about it. He said, no, he said, the putting stroke's a mini swing. It's like a little tiny chip shot. There's not a lot of movement, but I don't ever try and freeze myself. And that just, I have some detailed statistics from when I was, first starting the tour. And back then they were a little rudimentary. They were, just putts per green in regulation or putts per round. But after that conversation with Crenshaw, and I think I'm pinpointing it for 1988, I believe, and my stats were, I was kind of an average, maybe slightly better than average putter. And from almost that moment on, well, I hate to say soundly, I never finished out of the top 20 in my career for another 20 years after hearing that.
Jaybird, 3 times he led the PGA Tour in putting average. So pretty good putter right now.
Absolutely. And you know what's interesting, Fax, the PGA Tour's got some places that can be real pitfalls for certain personality types. I know that if I hung out on the range too long or on the putting green too long, it didn't do me any good. And when I got myself out on the golf course, I was much better off. I was more kind of in the creative mode. I liked putting balls in the left rough and seeing if I could hook something around a tree and things like that. What do you think about that?
I love that. I would say that I was always a player that was much better on the course than on the range. Even the week of the Masters, I would love to go out and I'd be happier playing 18 or 27 holes a day than to just sit on the range and just beat balls and think about my golf swing. I thought it was much easier to be more creative on the golf course, to see the shots you would see in the tournaments. And that was really good for me. When I started looking at swings on video, that was a warning sign or a danger sign, especially. I wouldn't say that my way was the right way. It wasn't the right way for Justin Rose or maybe a Victor Hovland. I can see lots of players doing it different styles, but you have to find your way and you have to be happy with your way.
So were there times though, Brad, that you had drills that you said, I'm going to do this every day? And you mentioned being on the course is maybe being the best way to do this, to get creative, but there's always drills that you hear about, especially from the pros. Were there drills that you were specific with and you said, I've got to do this daily as part of my routine?
I don't even like to use the word, I hate to say this, I don't like to use the word drills. Just the connotation of the word drill is something that makes me feel like I'm in a dentist's chair tightening up. And, I kind of like games or exercises. I don't know, I did things early on, like hit 100 putts in a row from 3 feet or 4 feet. It seems like nobody does that anymore. They have all kinds of different gadgets out there they're trying to work with, and the importance of start line becomes critical to so many of them. And we didn't have any of those devices or gadgets. We got very early on, we started maybe seeing chalk lines or little kind of boards that you could put the heel of your putter on. I think most of the stuff was really learning to do stuff on your own. And your question is, there stuff that I had to do every day? I would say that what I did the most consistently throughout my career was, I would end my warm up on the practice green by trying to hit some putts from around the hole, the 3 or 4 footer right to left, left, right, up or downhill, right? Hit those and really go through my full routine, lining up the ball down the way I like to see it on the course, taking my practice stroke and going through that whole process. If I could do that, I knew that when I first got on the course, it wouldn't be the first time I felt that day. If you get to the point where you're comfortable enough, you could hit those 4 putts before you go to the first tee and make 1 or 2 or 3 of them and still be happy and confident when you got to the range. And if I was going to to the course. If I left the course, that was the feeling I wanted to leave, is that my routine felt good. Nothing else was more important than that. I'd call it a rhythm that I like to feel as I left the course. And it didn't change much for a long period of time. I would add to that, as a player, you would know sometimes when you got, we both used a lot of help from Barbara Nicklaus, that when your head got in that right spot, your mechanics could improve without trying to improve your mechanics.
To your point, Fax, when I played basketball, I couldn't wait to get a feel for that game ball, because it never felt the same. Once I get a little sweaty, once I get a little adrenaline, I felt like I putted my best, and I watched you putt a lot and tried to emulate a lot of what you did. Is I felt like there was this rhythm almost likened to you and I on a basketball court, and you're shooting and going around the key. I'm retrieving the balls for you, and one bounce, you kind of step into that shot and let the ball go. And that's kind of how I felt when I putted my best.
I love the similarity in certain parts of certain sports with what I like to feel like and what you're describing on the putting green. If you could keep it instinctual, athletic, like a free throw shot or like getting a pass off the pick, a good tennis serve was similar to that, where you had to start the ball in motion and start yourself from being still. Golf, you're not reacting to something moving. If you could get better as if the ball were moving, how would you feel? And a lot of times I felt like my backstroke was already started, and I don't know how it started. Putter had already moved before I knew what had happened.
Brad, is there a guy, and you're a commentator, so we hear you all the time, is there a guy that you watch now and you say, ooh, I'm going to watch that guy. He's a hell of a putter. I just love the way he goes about it. Is there somebody out there that you like to watch?
When you define the greatest putters or great putters, they have to make a lot of putts, of course, that's obvious, but they have to do it, I would say, consistently over a period of time, not just 1 year. I would have said Jordan Spieth and Jason Day were fantastic putters. 2015, 2016, we never saw players make putts like they did. And the guy that seems to be showing up the most is this guy, Denny McCarthy. And you watch him and he looks free. He looks athletic, doesn't look scared. When you're watching a player, the true mark to me is when you see somebody when they're not putting their best or playing their best, but they still have their composure together. And I've spent this last 5 years talking about and working with Rory McIlroy. He had unbelievably finished outside of the top 115 putting 3 consecutive years. And last year he finished 16th. And if you have the ability to hit it like Rory does and finish top 16 putting, nobody else has a chance.
The part of the game around the greens, on the greens, the real artistry part, it's hard to find that player that has that mix, isn't it? That can understand the hitting flaws and the challenges of not being able to hit it all that great, but still shoot a score. It's kind of lost out there.
It really is. There's another young player really named Taylor Montgomery, who's hitting his stride this year in particular. It's funny, you can look at his stats and see how good they are. And one thing that's hard to do is if you just looked at a person's putting stroke and predict whether they're going to be great putters or not. I would say for myself, as I started to improve as a putter, it's not like my stroke changed a lot. Kind of an indicator to me, it's really the technique isn't as important as the mindset, the preparation, the situational preparation, and the attitude players could have. How would you say when you look at Jack Nicklaus and the way he's set up to the ball, how crouched over he was, bent over he was, had him so far behind the ball. It's something that wasn't a style that anybody copied or would copy. And even Crenshaw, he was the opposite. He was a little taller. He was leaned way to the left. His shoulders were open. His eyes pointed to the right. His hands were way forward at his dress. It's not like those are copyable styles, but what they did worked for them. I love that about our sport so much, in particularly putting and trying to get that through to anybody that I talk to about the game, that you have to be satisfied yourself, not for somebody else. And that's a big trick at times.
Brad, you mentioned visiting and working with Rory McIlroy for 3 years. I can't imagine what it's like to be Brad Faxon around the tour these days and somebody probably daily coming up to you and saying, will you please help me with my putting?
Please come to St. Louis, Fax. Please come.
I'm assuming that happens all the time.
Well, it's a real compliment when it does. I've had a lot of nice phone calls. When I got that call from Rory 5 years ago, I got nervous. Here's one of the best players in the world. I don't want to mess this guy up. Because of that, it's gotten me some popularity. It's because he's improved, not because I'm a great instructor. He got better. I think a lot of times the teachers get too much credit and too much blame. I don't really travel out on tour. I don't think I have time to be a full-time putting instructor. But, when you're talking to friends like you guys or to other players that are really trying to achieve at the highest level, it's a real high talking to other people about it.
We would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit while we have you on the show. And again, thanks for joining us about the great charitable work that you've done. The CVS Charity Classic with Tom Ryan and Billy and just some of the other things. Talk to us a little bit about all the great work. I know you have your own junior golf foundation and some other things like that.
It seems like, every player, once they get out on the tour, they see each week what the tour does for the different charities in the communities where the events are played. These guys are good. Our slogans have been fantastic. The billions of dollars that have been raised. And I think it helps, Jay, when you grow up in a small place like Rhode Island, small towns like Andrade and I did. I'm in Barrington, Billy's in Bristol, 10 minets apart when we started. And it's funny you're asking me that now. It's about the 25th anniversary of, no, it's more than that now. It's a 30th anniversary of the Andrade Faxon Charities for Children. We started doing a golf tournament for the Meeting Street School, which is a school Billy's brother had gone for underprivileged kids. We kept that going for a long, long time. We've raised close to $10 million. We're having a big event this summer in July here at Billy's home for, past donors and many of the celebrities that we've had playing our tournament. And in the middle of our great run, that's when CVS Pharmacy and Tom Ryan, you mentioned him, who was the CEO of the company for so long, we kind of mimicked Peter Jacobson's event, the Fred Meyer Challenge, out in Portland, Oregon, and started one here. And that went crazy for 20 plus years until COVID came along. And we raised over, very close to $25 million for all different kinds of charities in our state. So I hate to say, we never really brag about it, but it's really been something remarkable we've been able to put together. And I think this game of golf is really the only sport in the world that seems to be able to put these athletes together, these celebrities together, the successful businessmen around. Everybody, it seems like, that has any kind of a heart wants to help out the needy. And we in particular went after children's charities here. It's hard to drive down the street here and not see some place or something that we haven't had an impact to. And I think when you, here in your final days, you look at maybe all the great places you've gone or trophies you won playing golf, but at the end of the day, the other things mean so much more, don't they?
We've known each other forever. And to think about how fortunate we are and how this game that we both love and had no idea it was going to be such a charitable powerhouse. You talk about the PGA Tour raising billions of dollars, the work that you've done in Rhode Island and in Florida and other places, tens of millions of dollars. And it didn't have to go this way. I had no idea when we got our cards. I think you got yours in 83. I think I got mine in 84 and had no idea that we'll be sitting here talking to one another too many years past thinking, look at some of the cool stuff that's happened.
I think the great thing is we didn't really try to plan any of that, Jay, did we? It just kind of happened. You travel this journey and, you meet a successful businessman. We got lucky that CVS was one of the top 10 Fortune companies and just happens to be in Rhode Island. It was an avenue to raise money, to have fun, really. It was a good way for them to continue to do business with the suppliers at CVS. It was just something we never really, we probably dreamed of it, but we never put a timeline on how long that might last. And I think anybody else would have done the same thing.
Brad, do you enjoy the commentary? Is that something that obviously keeps your hand in the game along with helping Rory McIlroy, but is the commentary something that you enjoy as well?
I've actually loved it a lot of different ways. I, like Jay, played for so long on the tour, 25 or 30 years of traveling around, trying to raise daughters. And I had gotten to the point where I played a few years on the Champions Tour and said, I don't know if I want to play 25 weeks. It seemed to be the same guys out there that were already beating you all the time anyway, or new guys that were more motivated. And I think this is a different avenue to go. And this year, having this combination of doing some work for NBC and Golf Channel and Sky Sports, some as an announcer, some as an analyst, was just the right amount of work. It balances out with the amount of teaching that I'm doing, the very little bit of playing that I'm still doing, and the other charitable work, family stuff. It's really rewarding.
What I remember, Fax, when we were together at the Fox golf team, was how hard you worked at getting next to the players, trying to just get a little bit of a tidbit here, a this, that, here, there, when, these guys get into competition and they get near the lead or something, and you'll be able to draw on that, and that comes through in the stuff you do. And I think it really lends a lot to the broadcast.
I think, everybody has a perspective that they can bring to the viewer. I learned early on at NBC, my first year in 2010, that Tommy Roy, our very emotional and extremely talented producer, don't say anything on TV that's obvious to the viewer, and it's so easy to just, hey, there's the shot, there's where it landed, and there's where it stopped, which, the TV shows so well. And I think a lot of times you have to find, talk to players, what they're thinking, what their swings look like. I think one of the added benefits to being around Rory is not only being around with the greatest guys in the world, but one of the most talented players is, I think there's some respect from other top players. A lot of times when you're in the media and, you walk out in the range, players are just running away from the media guys. Like, I don't want to talk to him. And I don't think I threaten those guys. Maybe that's something that's been a benefit from being with Rory. That's been a good thing. I played with Rory last week, and drives me by 80 yards. It's nothing I've ever seen. And I think I'm not one of these guys that the trees were bigger back when I played with the game's ruined. I think it's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I still like being out there and learning every single day, and that's what gets me out of bed.
When I had Rory at Oakmont, I'd never seen anything like it. Honestly, Fax, I thought he was skying his driver. His driver launches at least 15 degrees, probably a little more now. And in my opinion, he's the model driver. As well as DJ can drive the ball and annihilate a golf course, Rory just seems to have that much more control. But I've never seen a ball flight like that, Fax, ever.
No, it's funny you say that, because I was playing with a couple of my buddies with Rory out at the Grove, where he plays Michael Jordan's cool course. We watched him on the second hole. It's a 379-yard par four. There's no wind, and we watched this tee shot go up in the air. You almost lose sight of it. It goes up it's higher than any window you'd ever imagine. We hit our shots, and you look 60 yards up there, 70 yards up there, and his ball was 8 feet behind the pin.
Wow.
He tapped it in for a two, and I have a 78-yard sand wedge coming in after a nice drive, and I'm like, what is going on? It's just amazing. And he's a freak off the tee. He's 5'9" or 10. He weighs 170, maybe a little bit more than that, but he's always had speed, even when he weighed 150 pounds. And some of that you're blessed to have. Some of it you improve upon having great technique. When I played, I looked at ways when I got on the tee that I didn't have to hit a driver. He's got the driver, the head cover off when he's on the hole before.
In fact, the drive he hit at, I think it was this year down in Texas for the match play. He drove it 4 feet from the hole on the 18th Austin Country Club.
It was a pivotal hole in the match. Obviously, when you get to the 18th hole in the match play, and what was so cool for me is I was doing the broadcast that day I was calling that tee shot, and I was with Steve Sands, and when you hit the tee shot, you saw the tracer, and the tracer is a great innovation for golf broadcasting and viewers. And when that ball took off, you could see the flight and see it right on line from having watched, and it flew 350 yards. The front of the green was 349. It landed a yard on the green, and then it was like he was playing the break as it came up onto that second tier.
Rory has really become, in many ways, the face of the PGA Tour and been vocal about the benefits of the PGA Tour. And I think, Brad, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you about LIV and some of these guys jumping. And you're obviously intimately involved with the PGA Tour. So what are your thoughts about these guys going to LIV?
He has had a burden on his shoulders that I hope that other top players, and I think they will. Justin Thomas has been very vocal. I hope that John Rahm steps up, Scotty Scheffler, so that Rory doesn't have to be the only one doing this. I mean, the PGA Tour's response to this Live Golf Tour has been remarkable. What the tour's put together so quickly for these players, and you see these leaderboards at these elevated events. It's nothing like we've ever seen before, except for major championships. And I think if there was some way we could start this all over again, I would hope that the Saudis would have said, hey, look, we have a lot of money. We want to get involved in the game. But it always seemed to me that it wanted to be more of a hostile takeover. It didn't seem that they were trying to work friendly with us. And, I would say if you went back to Greg Norman's idea back in the early 90s at the Shark Shootout, I believe it was 1994, he had an idea to try and do some of these events, 7 of them. I was in the room there, and Arnold was there, Jack was there, Nick Price's best friend was there, and I'll never forget that day and how none of the players wanted to do it unless it had the blessing of Tim Fincham, the new commissioner at the PGA Tour. And, Greg kind of walked away, and the next morning the paper said Norman announces world golf idea and players unanimously agree. And I'm like, unanimously? They unanimously disagreed. And I think he's had this vendetta against the tour for a long time. He found this backing, and some of the players that are on the LIV Tour have said to some friends of mine that they play with that they're not sure whether there's going to be no LIV Golf next year, if they're going to triple down and put another $1 billion into it. So it's interesting. It's really, really interesting.
So appreciate your time. So appreciate the insights. Love listening to you. Love having you on the show, man. Best of luck in Rhode Island. I know there's some heavy life stuff going on, but hang in there. Appreciate you joining us today.
You guys, that's too quick, too easy. Hopefully we can do it again a little bit later in the season.
Do you remember the golden rule? I'm sure you do, but just in case, it goes like this. Treat people the way that you'd like to be treated. At People's National Bank, that one statement is the cornerstone of what this bank is all about. Locally owned, with 23 locations in Southern Illinois and the metropolitan St. Louis area, People's National Bank parlays a robust menu of commercial or personal banking services you could possibly need with a friendly yet hardworking Midwestern attitude. Maybe you just want to do business with a bank whose entire team lives in the same neighborhoods as we do. If you're like me and doing business with someone you trust is important to you, then People's National Bank is the bank for you. Jason Rantham, local president, is here for you to call, and he'll answer any questions you may have. His personal cell is 314-974-2243. You can also find us online at peoplesnationalbank.com. People's National Bank is here for all of your banking needs.
Hi, this is Adam Betts from Family Golf and Learning Center. At FGLC here in Kirkwood, we feature a double-decker driving range, 2 large grass tees with Tahoma Bermuda grass. You want to work on your short game? We have a short game area too, which features a 20,000 square foot green, 3 bunkers, and Zoysia surrounds. Also at Family Golf and Learning Center, don't forget about our 9-hole par 3 course, the indoor TrackMan simulators, and our performance center. If you're looking for the best golf instruction, regardless of skill, we can help. Find out more at FamilyGolfOnline.com. That's FamilyGolfOnline.com. Family Golf and Learning Center. We make St. Louis better at golf.
Okay, so Marcone is the largest distributor of GE parts in North America. Check. You know about their support for backstoppers, first responders, and our men and women in the military. Check that also. Well, here's their latest community venture. It's called Wreaths Across America. This year, Marcone will place 1,000 Christmas wreaths on the gravesites of our fallen military heroes in 10 different cemeteries around the country, from Dallas to Delaware, Western New York to Houston, New Jersey to right here at Jefferson Barracks. Each of these locations and more will have wreaths delivered and respectfully placed on a gravesite. Remember the fallen, honor those who serve, and teach the next generation the value of freedom. That's the mission of the Wreaths Across America program. So join the Golf with Jay Delsing show and Marcone and sponsor a wreath, volunteer, or partner with us to support our military. Saturday, December 16th is National Wreaths Across America Day. So get involved. That's Marcone and Wreaths Across America.
Hey, St. Louis, Eddie McVeigh here from Maggie O'Brien's. When you head downtown for a concert or cards or blues game, and now for the St. Louis City soccer game, please come see us at Maggie O'Brien's before and after your event. Take our shuttle to and from, or stay in-house and watch your favorite team on our multiple high-def TVs. We look forward to seeing you soon at one of our 2 locations in Sunset Hills on South Lindbergh or downtown at the corner of Market and 20th Street. Union Station is next to us.
This is Chris Nagel. And you're listening to Golf with Jay Delsing.
This is Golf with Jay Delsing. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jay Delsing over there. Happy holidays to everyone, and hopefully you're having a great holiday season. This is our best of show, some of the best interviews and visits that we've had throughout the year, and we'll be replaying those interviews throughout the next 2 hours. We hope you enjoy it. It's the best of Golf with Jay Delsing. The winner of 2 U.S. Opens, 1978, 1985. And if you watch any golf, you're going to find Andy North on the telecast or working for ESPN. Hey, Andy, thanks for joining us. We certainly appreciate it.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
I can remember 1985 was my rookie year on the PGA Tour, and you win in the U.S. Open at Oakland Hills. That golf course, that event was absolutely a war, wasn't it? That place was a beast.
Well, it's always been a really difficult golf course, and they've gone through a remodel there over the last few years, and it's absolutely gorgeous. You know, it's always been a great major venue because of the difficulty, and you know, you stumble around and no one ever plays great at places like that. It's about sort of finishing, and you know, that's kind of what it looked like. You know, it's like at the end of a NASCAR race. There's, you know, a whole bunch of people had a chance, and somebody stuck their nose in front at the end, and that was how it happened.
You know, Andy, you're so humble, but I played in Opens, and I have not done nearly as well as you have, but it takes such toughness and such mental strength, doesn't it, to not let the golf course completely overwhelm you and beat you to death?
Well, I think the biggest thing there, going in, you know it's going to be a tough week. I love those kind of conditions. I really enjoyed looking forward to playing at a U.S. Open, and I felt like I had a much better chance there than a lot of guys because I embraced it. You know, I used to love to walk through the locker room and guys about how deep the rough is, or the greens are ridiculous, or this or that, and you just walk through and, you know, kind of smile and move on. And, you know, because you felt like you had probably 2/3 of the guys beat before you even started. And to me, that was always fun.
Andy, was interesting. We had Curtis Strange, also 2-time winner of the U.S. Open, on our podcast. And while he was close to winning a Masters, same thing as you, he said it was more important to win a U.S. Open because it is our national tournament and anybody can qualify. So it's not just being invited to the Masters, but also you look at the Open, anybody can win it. So was that more meaningful for you to win a pair of U.S. Opens as opposed to any other tournament that is offered on the PGA Tour?
Yeah, it was. From the time you were a junior player, the USGA Junior was the most important tournament. Then as an amateur, the USAM was the most important tournament. I always embraced USGA golf. I loved what they were trying to ask out of a player. And to be your national champion is, you know, extra special.
Andy, I don't think there was a day that went by when I was a little kid on this really lousy Muni golf course that I grew up with my mom's clubs that I didn't have a putt to win the U.S. Open. It was always, I wanted to be the best player in the U.S.
Yeah, I think I can remember as a kid the same sort of deal, that you'd be sitting on the putting green waiting for, you know, a ride home at night, and you're hitting 5-footers, and this is when the U.S. Open to beat Arnold. This is when the U.S. Open to beat Jack. You know, those are the kind of things that we all strive for, and that was the tournament we all knew about because it was your national championship.
So, Andy, growing up in Wisconsin, how did a cold weather place and a cold weather guy wind up being a golfer that goes to Florida, become an All-American? You have an incredible career at Florida, and you're a Hall of Famer there. But looking back on it, how does a kid from Wisconsin become one of the best golfers in the nation?
You know, I think growing up in a place where you didn't play, you know, every day all year long was a benefit. I think that, you know, you played other sports, you got away from the game, you had a chance to grow as an athlete and a person, and not just as a golfer. And, you know, as Jake knows, growing up where he did, that, you know, you go and play golf when it's 48 degrees and it's windy and rainy and whatever, because it's the time you only have so many days in the year that you can. And I think that helped me. And you look back at some of the tournaments that I played well in, a lot of them were really bad weather. You know, you understood how to try to deal with it. And so many of our great bad weather players are guys that grew up in the north. I mean, you think about Watson, you think about Nicklaus, you know, they weren't from Southern California or Florida. I think it was an advantage in some ways.
Andy, I almost felt like it made us hardier because I can remember right around the fall time of the year on tour, the BC Open was kind of the first week we'd get cold weather, and I always loved putting that sweater on. And to your point, and this is a much lower level than the U.S. Open, but walking through that locker room, man, the guys were bitching a lot about it's too cold, the ball's not going to go anywhere, and I thought, bring it on, man. These guys are going to roll over and die, and I have less people to try to beat.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, you can look at it, and I found it interesting when I did go to school at Florida, you'd have those days where fronts would go through and it'd be 50 degrees and maybe the wind's blowing 15 or 20. It wasn't the most perfect day to go play golf. And a lot of the guys from down there didn't go play. Well, it was a cold day. It's going to be a nice day tomorrow. So why should we go do this? So I think all in all, it probably helped you mentally. It made you a little bit tougher. Maybe it was easier to deal with those kind of conditions when you got them in a tournament. But all in all, it was a great place to grow up.
Andy, I look at the PGA Tour now, and I mean, you were on tour for years and years before I even got on there, but I look at the way it was back in the middle 80s. I mean, other than really great golf being played, it doesn't really resemble much of the same stuff. I mean, you look at a putting green, and it looks like you have villages camped out there now with all the tech and all of the, the club manufacturers, and just the boom in golf is just amazing to watch.
Yeah, it's changed. It is called the same sport, but it's so different. The equipment has changed dramatically. The agronomy has changed so dramatically. I mean, some of the fairways now are better than greens that, we grew up on playing. Open Championship of St. Andrews, the last couple times it's been there, the fairways literally were faster than the greens. So they're able to do things now that the ball goes further, but at the same time, the fairways are cut in such a way that if you get the ball in the fairway, it's going to run another 30 or 40 yards. So, there's been a lot of differences, but you still got to figure out how to get in the hole, and you still have to figure out how not to beat yourself. And these guys go about it a little bit differently, but they're awfully good at what they do.
Andy, one of the things that I can remember so vividly, I think it was my rookie year on tour, we were playing the Anheuser-Busch Golf Classic in Williamsburg, Virginia, and you had your wife Susan and your two girls with you, and we were at the park. And you told me, the girls only want me to be here because of my wallet. And you were walking a little behind the girls. And I just remember some of the stories and the fondness of the intimacy of the tour. I remember the wives, because there weren't a lot of opportunities to have daycare and all of the developed things that they have on tour now, where the wives were actually, if you were having a good day or a good tournament, a lot of the wives would get together with your wife and say, hey, we'll watch the kids, go out and, see if you can, catch a few holes and things like that. There was something really charming, and for whatever reason, the word romantic comes into my mind, but I really loved that part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, and you started 12, 15 years after I did, the fact that so many people drove, and the fancy hotels we stayed in were those horseshoe Holiday Inns with the swimming pool in the middle, and there'd be 15 grills out going at night and kids running all over the place. Our kids were, I think, really lucky that they had their tour friends and they had their friends at home. I think that was great. And as you're saying, people looked out after each other. I remember Lou Graham his daughters are a little bit older than most of the kids in our generation, and they decided they're going to babysit all these kids. And they came up with this great idea that the two of them could babysit all these kids together. And they had like 10 or 12 of them one day. And, basically they were tied to a chair when everybody got home. The kids took over. But it was, it was fun, and it was a different environment than it is now. But, I'm sure that these guys will look back 25 years from now and think, that was pretty cool. We had a lot of great friends and whatever, but it's just different.
You're fabulous on TV, and I wanted to compliment you on that. You have a calm demeanor. You teach the game. You're fair to the players. How did that all come about for you, starting with ESPN in 1992 to becoming one of the top analysts that the sport has right now?
Well, I think, first of all, none of us are trained for it. I was struggling physically in the early 90s, and I had a chance to work at Quad Cities. Gary Koch had fallen and broken his leg at the Canadian the week before. They were looking for somebody, and I wasn't playing very well and stumbling around. They said, would you mind trying this? And I did it, and that was kind of fun. They asked me to do it at the end of the year, and I turned them down the first time because I thought I was going to have yet one more operation and go ahead and try to rehab and see if I come back and play. The next year, they asked again. We sat down and figured, what the heck, I can go out there and maybe I can give my body a year off and give it a chance to heal up and try it and see what happens. And, it's 32 years ago. So I'd still tell people I don't have any idea what's going on, but they put something up on the screen and you talk about it. I've always tried to be fair. I think that's the most important thing. I mean, everybody hits crummy shots. They're not trying to hit crummy shots. Explain maybe why it happened is way more important than just tell them that they're terrible. To me, it's been always important that for me to bring information to the viewer, I have to have access to the players. And if you rip them all the time, you're not going to have access to them. I think that part was important.
I couldn't believe it, and you don't remember this, but I do. I was down in the U.S. Virgin Islands for the Paradise Jam. Wisconsin is playing in that, and for folks that don't know, it's a basketball tournament. And I look over, I'm doing the TV, and Wisconsin's on the floor, and I see Andy North. And I'm thinking, what is he doing calling college basketball as an analyst? So are you doing a lot of that, or how did that all come about?
Well, I'm a fanatic Wisconsin fan and been around the program for 30, 40 years. Not just basketball, but all the sports there have been really, really involved over the years. It's been a lot of fun. The same two guys, Matt LePay and Mike Lucas, do both football and basketball for the Badgers. They've been the radio guys for literally 35 years. They do a fabulous job. There's always usually it's the Thanksgiving tournament that everybody goes to, Hawaii, Virgin Islands, wherever it might be, that they're doing a basketball game on Saturday, usually the last football game of the season. I've filled in some years. I might do as many as 5 games depending on the schedule, and some years I might do 1 or 2, but it's a lot of fun. I probably get a little carried away. I've gotten to know the refs by first, so when guys screw up, I make sure that people know that it was a horrible call by Ted Hillary or whoever it happened to be. So, no, it's been an awful lot of fun, and it's fun being around the kids. It helps you keep you younger.
You keep mentioning fun, and that is such a huge component for me too. And I can remember we were playing in the Byron Nelson down at Las Colinas, and that golf course is one of the weirder courses we play because it's kind of a compilation of 4 or 5 courses that have been thrown together over the years. But you and I were out there playing one day, and we played cross-country golf from, I think, the 7th tee to over. And we walked, I think one hole was probably 2.5 miles long. We were hitting shots you were showing me, and I just came off of that day with such an appreciation for what this game was. It showed a different light. Here's a 2-time U.S. Open champion showing me how to have fun in a practice round and also work on my game at the same time.
Well, I think it has to be fun. I think we've got a 12-year-old granddaughter now that's playing some of the travel volleyball and basketball and that kind of stuff. And it's fun to see those kids have fun and not, sometimes the parents at that level get a little squirrely, and sometimes the coaching gets a little bit out of control. It's been fun to see her with some really good coaches that, she's learned an awful lot, and it is about fun. If you're not having fun doing this, what should you be doing? And I think so often you get into the grind of the tour and it's the same week after week after week. If you don't have some ways to, practice differently or change up the routines or, some of those things, it really gets to be where it's work. And once it gets to be where it's work, generally your performance doesn't equate.
Andy, you were on the coverage of the Masters. You're there every year. I don't know about you, and I'm sure it was the case for a lot of average golf fans or those that are tied into it on a daily basis. And I'm going to ask you this. How tough was it to watch Tiger kind of stumble around the golf course, and you've seen him in his prime to seeing what's happening now? How tough was that for you to watch what happened with Tiger Woods?
One, I think it's absolutely amazing what he's been able to do. I think it gets lost on what he has to do just to go out there and try to play golf. I really appreciate the level work that he's had to put in just to be able to walk around and be able to try to play. For him to make cuts at majors has been amazing. He's been so unlucky with the weather. Once it gets like it was there, he has no chance. But I mean, a normal morning, if he's got a 10 o'clock tee time, he starts his rehab at 4 a.m. and working with the trainers to get him where his body just is going to work. Obviously his leg is a horrible problem, but he's, you forget all the other things he's had happen. That he's got to work on his back, he's got to work on his other knee, he's got to work on all this stuff just to get somewhat ready to play. It's hard to watch. I think I actually said on air that he's proved all he needs to prove, that he doesn't need to go out there and try to finish this out in 40-degree rainy weather. And I was happy that he did decide not to. You got to really appreciate the work and the pain and everything he's going through to try to at least go out there and compete.
Now, on the flip side, tied in with Tiger for so many years is Phil Mickelson. How impressive was that to watch at his age, doing what he did at the Masters very recently? It was just amazing for so many people to watch it. What was your opinion of seeing Phil?
Phil has this amazing ability that he drives through gate 3 and goes at Magnolia Lane, and all of a sudden something clicks with him. He's got so many great memories at that golf course. He still physically can get the ball around lengthwise. He understands what he's trying to do. Short game fits exactly what you need to do there. But yet still at 52 or 3, it's amazing how well he did play. But it's a place that I think he's going to be like Fred Couples. He'll play well there once in a while over the next 10 or 12 years probably.
Andy, in your position, you're supposed to be unbiased, but I am curious about this. Who's the player right now on the PGA Tour that privately, in your heart, in your mind, you'd love to watch him for the 18 holes? He catches your attention. He garners the attention of Andy North. Who is that player right now?
I think there's a handful of them. I think the 3 guys at the top that were the favorites last week, Rory's fun to watch, Rahm's fun to watch, Scheffler's fun to watch. They all do it a little bit differently. I love watching JT play because I think he works the ball as well as anybody that we've got right now. He spent a lot of time with Tiger, and Tiger basically told him that to be a great player, you got to learn to hit some more shots. And he does. He's fun to watch on windy days. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Jordan Spieth, another great week last week. He does it differently. It's fun to watch JT and Jordan hit wedges. They're both really turned themselves into great wedge players. How hard Rahm goes at it now and how far Rory can hit it. There's some weeks it works and some weeks it doesn't, but it's still fun to watch him.
Andy, for somebody that got to play against Jack in his prime and Arnold and the great players of the game, a guy like Tiger comes out. He's not going to go down historically as the best player ever because Jack's going to have more majors and things like that. But there's a story to be told that how important it is to manage yourself off the golf course. But I don't think I ever have seen anyone like Tiger with more aces in his bag, so to speak, Andy, and his winning percentage. Have you thought much about that, comparing Tiger to Jack and some of their records and things like that?
That's one question I get asked quite a bit about, who is the best of these two? And my answer is, I don't know who is the best, but if they're playing across the street, I'd pay money to go watch them play.
Yeah, same.
And I wouldn't do that for many others. And if you look at their games, their history, it's very, very similar. I mean, they both came on tour and just dominated with length. And then people started catching up with them, and they were able to dominate other ways. Tiger's short game early in his career, much, much better than Jack's chipping, pitching, bunker shots. Because basically Jack never had to do that. He hit it so far back then, and the courses weren't as long, and he basically hit driver wedge. He's playing the game back in the 60s, very similar to how the young guys are playing now. You beat it out there a mile and you hit it on there with a wedge. Why chip and putt? Why have to chip and hit pitch shots? Because you never have them. Jack was an unbelievable Tiger, unbelievable putter. Maybe arguably the 2 best pressure putters we've ever had. They both were talked about, couldn't drive their golf ball as well as they needed to, but both of them could when they needed to. If they had to put it in the fairway, they usually did, some way. Jack figured, in both Tiger and Jack both figured out it might be a 3-wood, it might be a 2-iron. It doesn't matter. I mean, I had the great fortune of walking every single shot Tiger hit at Hoy Lake that year when he won the Open Championship, where he hit one driver, is the greatest precision exhibition of golf I've ever seen. To have played with Jack and been around Tiger so much, they're just different animals. And I think both of them sort of ruined the expectations of the game for so many other players coming after him, because the guy thought if he didn't win 3 or 4 times a year, he wasn't a very good player. Well, you win once a year, you play 20 years, you're a Hall of Famer. It's hard to win out there, and when guys do it 5, 6, 7, 8 times a year, that's ridiculous.
The thing that stands out to me is they were at especially for me, they were at a different level mentally. They seemed to be able to get into this mode mentally. For Tiger, because I didn't get to watch Jack. I got to play with him, but not in his prime. When watching Tiger, Andy, I felt like he'd seen this movie already. I felt like he had seen himself doing this before. And to me, the mental strength, especially with all the chaos that was going on in his personal life, was just amazing.
Tiger had a great person to study, and it was Jack. I truly believe if there'd have been somebody out in front of Jack that had won 25 majors, he'd have won 25 majors. I think that he would have done whatever it needed to be to get there. Where Tiger's kind of the same way, that if he'd have stayed healthy and during the last 10 or 12 years, I thought that he'd win 25 majors in 100 tournaments minimum when he got going. It was just so much fun to watch him play. And I think that those two guys are the two strongest mentally that I've seen. A guy like a Watson or a Floyd, or, they were in that same kind of category, that they could get in that space. But, Tiger and Jack did it for 15 years. There's been a lot of guys that could do it for 1 or 2, but not many that could do it for any length over 3 or 4 years.
Andy, with your time in TV, I'm curious about this, and you've seen the game change and how it's covered, and now players are getting mic'd up in the middle of rounds. We saw that at the Masters. In your opinion, what can we do to advance television for the average fan to bring them into being the golf fan that never misses a round, always wants to watch, and innovations with television and how it's covered? Is there anything that you'd like to see or bring into the viewer for those that watch on TV?
Well, I think we got to be careful not get to the point where it turns into a circus. I thought the interviews were amazing, but I personally probably wouldn't have done it. These kids look at things differently than we all did. I think one of the things in the last 2 or 3 years is, and this is a little bit of a self-promotion, but I think has been really great for game, and that's the PGA Tour Live and ESPN Plus, where it's on. You can basically produce and direct whatever you want. Do I want to watch these holes? Do I want to watch this group? Do I want to watch like a regular coverage of all the groups and holes? So I think you can watch your favorite player hit at least 2 or 3 shots somewhere during the course of the day, based on either on these, the holes that they're covering or whatever. And I think that really has changed things. That, if a guy you want to watch is playing at 7:30 in the morning, it's going to be on. You can find, he's going to be one of the featured groups. I think that's just been amazing.
I love that featured group option. Also, Andy, one of the things that dawns on me, especially compared, there just wasn't any money and any attention in the game really back in yours and my generation. But these kids are all their own brands, and they have these teams behind them where yoga instructors and cooks and, social media specialists. And I'd much rather have dinner with you in the back of some restaurant without taking a picture of my steak and just talk golf. But, it's just a different world now.
You're starting to sound like an old guy, Jay.
I'm there, man. I'm there.
Get off my lawn.
It's a completely different world, and that's what it is. And these guys have embraced the social media world, and because of they've been able to, it's been very lucrative for them in a lot of ways, but it also could get guys in trouble if they're not careful. So you got to be careful on how you handle it, but at the same time, you got to love, what they've been able to create, and they're doing it well, and the top guys are terrific at it. I love Scotty Scheffler to death. because you're a guy who's in the last 2 years has had amazing success. He's driving the same car he had in college. He's living in the same house he lived when he first started. He doesn't. I think he has a flip phone. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he does. I've never seen a social post by him in any way. He does business and plays golf, and he's having a great time doing it.
Andy, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you about LIV and get your thoughts on what's happened with the game. Jay and I talk about it a lot, and the fact that everybody is talking about golf. So in a way, that's a good thing, but what are your thoughts on these players that have left the tour, the PGA Tour, and gone to LIV?
Well, I think, first of all, the fact that this happened, I have not liked, but at the same time, it's probably been very beneficial to all players. You want to change businesses or companies you work for, and you go to another place, that's great. That's your option. I think that if a guy wants to go play, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's his option to be able to do that. But once you do that, you can't come back and work for the same company you worked for before. I don't have a problem with them leaving. I have a problem with them thinking they should be able to come back and play tour events. Because of this, it's changed what they're doing on tour, and obviously it's going to be a whole bunch more money for the players. So, I think it's probably a win-win in a lot of ways. I'm not a big supporter of LIV, but that doesn't mean it's right, wrong, or indifferent, So, but once you make that decision, you're working for another company, as far as I'm concerned.
Hey, Andy, you've been so gracious with your time and on the insight on the past, the present, and LIV and all these different things that we've thrown at you. We can't thank you enough. Love your work on television, and hopefully we catch up sooner rather than later.
Powers Insurance and Risk Management is a family-owned local business that's been helping our community for over 200 years. In the always confusing world of insurance, Powers Insurance provides clarity, exceptional service, and the latest in cutting-edge products to deliver the highest quality in property and casualty coverage, as well as strategic planning consultation services. Powers Insurance and Risk Management will partner with you. That's right, partner with you to customize the right coverage for you and your family. Tim Davis, the Chief Operations Officer, will personally sit down and talk you through the ins and outs of your policies. They are experts at helping you control your workplace expenses and helping to guarantee the safety of you and your employees and their needs. You can visit them at powersinsurance.com. That's powersinsurance.com for all of your insurance needs.
For the best in Italian cuisine in St. Louis, look no further than Paul Manno's, located in Chesterfield. It's traditional Italian cooking, and their best ingredient, it's their tradition. It's cooking like Paul's grandmother used to make and like his mother still prepares today. There are no corners cut at Paul Manno's. From greeting you at the door to the pasta you'll share with your family, Paul Manno's is committed to bringing you their very best anytime you share a meal at their place. It's Paul Manno's, located in Chesterfield.
Hey, this is Jay Delsing, and we golfers are always looking for ways to improve our games. For me, that means I want the very best and the very latest in equipment and in technology. The place for me is Pro-Am Golf in Brentwood. Tom DeGrand opened Pro-Am Golf Center in 1975, and ever since then, he and his family have provided St. Louis with the finest in golf equipment, instruction, and the latest in the ever-changing world of golf technology. Whether you are a scratch golfer looking to find the latest in rangefinders or a newcomer looking to find your first set of clubs, Pro-Am Golf has just what you're looking for. You say you're looking to get yourself custom fitted for a new set of clubs? You need to call TJ. He has fit me personally, and he is the best in town. If you mention my name, CJ will take 50% off the already low fitting price. So if you need anything from golf balls to a new pair of shoes or a lesson from Tom, who, by the way, has been helping St. Louisans play better golf for over 45 years, Pro-Am Golf in Brentwood is the place for you. You can also visit them at proamusa.com. That's Pro-Am Golf.
Hello, friends. This is Jim Nance, and you are listening to Golf with my friend Jay Delsing.
Redbird Heating and Cooling sponsors the Veterans Vocational Apprenticeship Program. Jed, the CEO and former Marine, will teach, mentor, and sign off on educational and mechanical work hours to help you get fully licensed while you work and get paid by the company. What a great way to launch your career as a fully licensed HVAC specialist. Visit redbirdhvac.com. That's Redbird Heating and Cooling.
Hi, this is Adam Betts from Family Golf and Learning Center. You're listening to Golf with Jay Delsing.
Hey, this is Jay Delsing for SSM Health Physical Therapy. Our golf program has the same screening techniques and technology as the pros on the PGA Tour use. SSM Health Physical Therapy has the Titleist Performance Institute trained physical therapists that can perform the TPI screening on you, as well as use the K-Vest 3D motion capture system. Proper posture, alignment, etc. can help you keep your game right down the middle. We have 80 locations in the St. Louis area. Call 800-518-1626 or visit them on the web at ssmphysicaltherapy.com. Your therapy, our passion.
This is Golf with Jay Delsing. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jay Delsing over there. Happy holidays to everyone, and hopefully you're having a great holiday season. This is our best of show, some of the best interviews and visits that we've had throughout the year, and we'll be replaying those interviews throughout the next 2 hours. We hope you enjoy it. It's the best of Golf with Jay Delsing.
It's been exciting for me, Jay. As you know, I've covered all four majors. I've done the Ryder Cup, the President's Cup. I've done the Olympics. I've done all the playoff events. I've played on both sides of the Atlantic and around the world. It was really, the logical place for me to go. I've done everything else. And it's been a really exciting trip, so far. I feel like we've been on a kind of a pirate ship, for a while, but we've got the wind in our sails. And, it's an opportunity for me to be lead analyst and to do some things that, I haven't been able to do over the last, 28 years in broadcasting.
And that's saying a lot, Bud, because, besides being an accomplished player, and I know you've made fun of your career most of your life, but you're a hell of a player. Nowadays, golf has just become, I don't want to say stagnant, but when you take Tiger Woods out of the mix, like unfortunately has been happening, it just doesn't do the same for everybody, does it?
Well, I think since 96 when he showed up, every now and then someone comes along who changes the game. And, he's responsible for the standard of play that we see these days. It's phenomenal the way that these kids play the game. They're so much better than we used to be. So not having Tiger is, he's getting on. It makes me feel old. I'll be 65 next time. But we have tremendous players out there. I just hope that we can get to a place, where all the best players in the world can play together again. That's my eventual hope for this.
David, there's so many people, though, that miss seeing you every Saturday, or they miss your show. Now, they're going to be able to see that with Live, and I guess the question would be, why did you jump to Live? Was it simply money? Was it the opportunity? Was it a change of scenery for you? What was it for David Feherty?
It was an opportunity to do something different, to be a lead analyst, for the first time in my career, and to be involved with the development of the game in a different format. I've been in this game for 50 years now, traveling around the world, and I've been in the United States for nearly 30 years now, and it was really the logical place for me to go, because I felt like I'd done everything else.
Do you like to be interviewed, or do you like to be the guy that, you get to interview the other person? What's more fun for you?
I think, the interviewing. For me, I kind of missed my show that was on the Golf Channel for 10 years. But we're going to revamp that and do a show with Liv. It's going to be more of a travel log. but we're, hoping to get that on the air, in the coming months. So, I always enjoyed the interview part of it.
Who's been the best one that you interviewed? You sat down a guy and you went, holy smokes, that was unbelievable.
I had so many holy smokes moments. And I interviewed more than 160 people.
Wow.
Every time I think of someone that was amazing, like a Bill Russell, who, he just changed my attitude. He affected my life. Just the 2 days that I spent with Bill Russell. Condoleezza Rice, well, what an extraordinary human being, and to be able to spend time with her. And then there were, the actors, Matthew McConaughey and Sam Jackson and Don Cheadle, the comedians, George Lopez, Tom Watson, who changed my life. Has been a big brother to me over the last 15, 20 years. It was an amazing ride. It really was. Jack Nicklaus, who fished me out of the Indian River. There's just too many to even think about.
David, one of the things, and I so enjoyed your interviewing, but one of the things that will never leave my mind is what Bill Russell said to you when you said, what sort of advice would you give to I think you said a young athlete coming into their sport?
And I was expecting some, kind of a long, piece of, sports advice or career, changing advice or whatever. And he looked at me and he scratched the sort of stubble on his gray chin while he looked and he said, be kind. And, the two most important words maybe in the English language are be kind. And, with the atmosphere that we've got these days in America, and not just in America, believe me, I've just been in the UK, and it's there are a lot of people waiting around every corner, hoping to be offended by something. I think we're being held ransom by a bunch of mean-spirited, people with no sense of humor. Our sense of humor has been kidnapped because you can't make fun of anybody anymore. Everybody's too sensitive. Well, if you're just kind to the next person that you see, and if that's your attitude, all of a sudden every problem disappears. And Bill Russell just put it perfectly in 2 words for me.
You are amazing in terms of interviewing, and you understand television, and you understand how to bring the viewer in sports television. So I'm curious, in being a lead analyst now with Live, how are you going to try to change, if you can, viewership for the golf fan out there and bring them in, and maybe bring a non-golf fan in and make them a fan of golf by being a lead analyst with Live? What can you do to change the viewership, if you know what I'm trying to say here, and make it a little bit different than what we've been seeing, the last 10 or 20 years?
Well, I think the tendency for lead analysts all over, to try to, not protect, that's probably the wrong word, but be less than honest, if you like, when they're talking about, players and what they may be thinking and, what may be affecting the way that they're playing. I'm hoping just to be flat out, dead straight honest. And I'm hoping that players won't mind.
But David, guys get pissed. You've been in that spot. They get pissed off when you do that.
Oh, yeah, they do. Every now and then you will. But I really only ever had a problem, with Monty when it came to that, because hey, if I make fun of someone, it's not their reaction, that really matters. It is their reaction that matters, and if they're offended by it, being offended is something that you choose to be. You have to choose to be offended. It's not like somebody sticks a knife in you, that hurts. You have to think of it one way or the other. Should I let that offend me, or should I actually run with it? And, by your reaction, that's how you'll be judged by everybody else. So I'm in the elevator. This is a few months ago. I can't remember where it was. I think it was in Tampa. And I'm in the elevator by myself, and it stops on like the 5th floor on the way down to the lobby, and the doors open, and it's the biggest man I have ever seen in my entire life. The elevator doors open, you couldn't see all of them. This guy had to weigh 600 pounds, and he sidles, he almost had to turn sideways to get into the elevator, and I move into the back, whatever, and he gets in, and you could just hear the cables taking the strain, when he get in, and he turned and looked with a dead straight face and said, "Are we going down?" I said, "We fucking are not." But he laughed. He laughed, and I immediately wanted to throw my arms. I wanted to throw my arms halfway around him,
Oh my God!
Those are the people in life that you love, where, the guy could have punched me in the mouth, and I would have thought less of him. And he laughed, and we had a chat on the way down, and he's a great guy, an amazing person underneath all of that stuff. And I have great empathy for people who are overweight. I had a gastric bypass surgery years and years ago. Otherwise, I'd weigh 350. I have empathy for people who have that addictive personality as well. Food is the hardest addiction to kick, because it's unlike any other drug. You have to use it. You have to use a certain amount of it. So I think it's probably harder to kick than meth or heroin.
David, one of the things that you said that is so true about playing on the PGA Tour is that the guys out there, when they find your soft spot and they judge your reaction to that, if they know they're under your skin, you're cooked. Man, you are absolutely hosed. And I loved what you just said about the choice, and it's so true. And we've all had those guys that get so rubbed the wrong way when you start giving them grief, you can't stop. It's so much fun.
Well, that's right. But eventually most of them come around and realize that it is it's all in fun, and by your reaction is how you're judged.
When you think of your time with Tiger, and you had a lot of time with Tiger on the course, I'm not so sure what you had off the course. I'm not sure many people have had a lot of time off the course with him. What comes to mind for David Feherty?
Obviously, a lot of time with him on the course, right at the leading edge. I was with CBS for 19 years, and every time Tiger Woods was on the air, it was either Peter Costas or myself, that was with him, and I spent a fair bit of time with him off. Away from the camera as well. And, he's a complicated character. As well as I know him, I really don't know him that well.
I'm not sure anybody does.
He had a complex. No, I'm not sure anybody does either. He put up such an iron dome that in order to be as good as he was, it was almost a prerequisite. That he had that hard shell around him, and I think a lot of it too was we forced him to be that way by following him everywhere with a camera. He didn't get a minute's peace. So between that and the fact that he was has been over the years so badly managed, that. It's difficult. There were times when I just wanted to grab him and say, look, just spend 5-10 minutes with me here, and show a little vulnerability. It would have gone such a long way, to helping people to understand who he is.
David, for me, it was so hard to watch play out in the public eye it's been called the greatest karma sandwich of all time, with with what happened to him after Thanksgiving in '09 and all of that jazz. But for someone that did so much for us, for the game, for our sport, if this thing doesn't happen, every single every single record in our rule book, in our history books, is going to be undone by this guy. He'd have had, David, I don't think there's any question in my mind, he'd have had between 25 and 35 majors and 150 tournaments.
It's amazing how good he was and how much better he was than everybody else. I think in the official world golf rankings, which are now irrelevant, so that's another story. The guy who was second in the world, for a long time was Ernie Els. For a while it was Vijay Singh. For a while I think it was Phil. But at one point, the gap in points between him and the guy who was second was the same as the gap in points between the guy who was second and the guy ranked 1,000th in the world.
Oh my God!
And that to me, along with the cuts made, the amount of majors is one thing, but I mean he holds so many other records that will never be beaten. No one's ever going to make 143 cuts in a row. From now until the end of time, that's not going to happen. So I mean, for me, it was just such a privilege to be around him and to be as close as I got to him. For so many years, to be at the leading edge of that and be able to see it up close and in person was just, it was such a privilege.
David, you said something a moment ago that really struck me. You said he was badly managed, and you talked about, hey, maybe show your vulnerability. If you were to manage him, put yourself in that spot, in that position, what would you have done? What would you have said to Tiger? How would you have potentially managed him, having had a chance to be in the media, been a player, understand what he was in to an extent of those shoes? What would you have done with him?
Well, the first thing I'd have done was, to have me interview him, not Oprah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
And my first question would have been like, dude, seriously, what were you thinking? And, for to have him just honestly answer that, and I don't know what the answer was. Like, God, I don't know. I let it run away from me, I'm an addict. I have that addictive gene, and I'm, going to do my best to navigate my way through this, and hopefully, people will forgive me, and, because people did. It just took too long. He received so much bad advice, at times from yes men, people that just wanted to maintain their position within, his little organization there, that was around him. I'm not talking about the massive organization, the Tiger Woods Foundation, and he's done so much good, and, it helped educate so many children. It's hard to put a price on that. It really is. And as Jay says, what he's done for the rest of us, we should form a human carpet of golfers' buttocks that he could wear hard spikes
gosh.
To the first tee.
David, what the people that he brought into the game, the excitement that he brought into the game, I'm old, but I wasn't old enough to get to play in Jack's prime, but there was nothing like that. You and I had never experienced anything like that sort of excitement on a golf course, whether it was the Bay Hill Classic and him making another putt on 18, or, him making a birdie in the third round of a U.S. Open somewhere. The amount of people that he brought in, it was staggering. I can remember playing in the I was 46. I played in the U.S. Open at Wingfoot, and his dad had just died. And our fathers had actually passed away on the same day, coincidentally. And I had left a note in his locker, and we had said a few things. But I had my children with me at Wingfoot, and we were out on Tuesday afternoon, and all of a sudden, it seemed like out of nowhere, but probably a horde of 15 or 20,000 people were moving towards the practice tee, and my daughter said, "Dad, what is going on?" I said, Tiger's going to practice. It's the only thing, David, that it could have been, unless there's, a tsunami or something coming in Westchester County.
It was an unnatural phenomenon. There was no question about that. It was like he was a magnet, that drew, so many people towards the game, and brought a lot of eyeballs to the screen that might not otherwise have been there. Winning majors, winning tournaments, and just you expected so much of him, and he delivered on so many occasions. Unlike any player in history.
Do you think he has one more win in him to get to that elusive one more win?
I think he does. Yeah. In fact, it would surprise me if he doesn't win again. I know he's not going to play very much, but he's not going to play at all unless he thinks he can win. And the only mistake that I've ever made in my commentary about Tiger Woods is when I've underestimated him.
Man, that is so true. I have counted him out. I can remember when he was struggling with his back, and that we were told getting that back fusion but was a career ender. He comes back and it made all the difference in the world. The guy comes back with all the speed. Suddenly his glutes were firing again, thank God, and off he went. And I mean, for the life of me, I couldn't figure that out.
He's just a creature from another planet. Nobody has ever seen anything like him. And my children won't see golf like that. Their children probably won't see golf like that. It's just a once in a millennia, that kind of experience.
David, we'll wrap it up here with a couple more minutes, couple more questions for you. Do you see a time in which LIV and PGA, the PGA Tour, that they come together, that effectively this becomes a United Tour or a World Tour or however it comes together? But do you see this coming together where we truly do have the best players in the world coming together on a collective tour to where we see everybody back together the way it should be?
I don't see them coming together, Danny, but I do see, players on both sides being able to play in one or the other, and I think that's pretty good. It's as good as we can hope for. And, if the LIV players can find a way to earn official World Golf Ranking points again, well then, the World Golf Rankings come back irrelevant. And I think that's the most important thing because, majors and, they want to see the best field. They deserve to have the best field. And if you've got a player like Dustin Johnson who's ranked 300th in the world, well, it kind of makes a mockery of it. So we have to find a way where, our guys, can play in relevant golf tournaments around the world.
Couple of things. We talked about your show, and I know people that are listening are going to be so excited. Give us a little bit of time frame when we can expect, but to see you back doing your thing. I personally can't wait.
We're not sure the shape of the show yet. There's a bunch of us kind of throwing ideas around, but I would hope by the middle of next year, we would have something to put on the air.
And for me, finally, Jay and I are intimately involved in our community with the military in the middle of America and obviously in St. Louis in Missouri. But you have done just incredible amounts of work with the military for the United States. And it's just remarkable, the amount of money and awareness that you have raised for veterans, fallen soldiers, the men and women of our military, and you're to be commended for that. And so, David, what are you doing now? What's happening with that, and how can people get involved? Because, again, you're to be commended for everything you've done with that.
I'm just about to go and see a Ranger, Victor Van Dam, a wounded sniper, who's got, an adapter of mine for a suppressor.
Wow.
And,
I love it.
There are 5 reasons why this country is great, and they are Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. And 5 reasons only. It has nothing to do with politicians. It's got nothing to do with business people. It's about our armed forces. They're the reason that we have the freedom, that we have the ability to have lives that we have. Every time we've fallen back on them, they've come through. And, for me, just the opportunity to be around them is the greatest honor of my life. a Troops First Foundation, and Jay has been tremendously helpful with me. Our fundraising events, our efforts at Oakmont, where the people have been incredible. With George Strait, who has put on an event each year for us for the last 11 years and raised millions of dollars. We're continually trying to improve the lives of the kids that need us, and our efforts in suicide prevention, continue with Operation Warrior Call. We provide service dogs. Like I say, it's just the greatest honor of my life.
David, I got to tell you, we love talking golf. I love having dinner with you. I love where the hell our conversations go. God only knows where we go. But honestly and truthfully, the way that I feel hanging around our men and women heroes that have come back without an arm, no eye, all of these scars, both, emotional and physical, the way I feel around them changed my life. It's impossible to say enough in some sort of stupid words to make any sense. But these folks, these heroes, have the greatest attitude and such admiration and respect for our country and our flag. It's changed me, and I'm so grateful.
Yeah. Me too. And how we started this conversation about people being offended, and having no sense of humor. Their sense of humor is extraordinary. These kids that come home broken, burned badly, missing limbs, with post-traumatic stress disorder. I tell them I have PTSD. I have pre-traumatic stress disorder. I'm pretty sure something shitty's going to happen. I have just no idea when. but they have that incredible sense of humor that makes you admire them even more. And I know that Brendan Morocco, Jay, who came back from Iraq with no arms and no legs. He lost all 4 limbs. He was the first American serviceman to survive such an injury. And Brendan, for the first few months of his physical therapy, he did it in a swimming pool. So we called him Bob.
Oh.
And yeah, and Brendan laughs, and when he got his double arm transplant, he had a double arm transplant which was successful, and he received the arms of a 16-year-old girl who was tragically killed in a vehicle accident. So we told him he wasn't allowed to touch himself until he was 18. And Brendan laughs. So if Brendan can laugh, don't tell me that if you're one of these marginalized groups, or whatever, that gets so offended, that you can't laugh. Give me a break.
David, is there a way that people can support you that are listening to this around the country? Is there a website they can go to, phone number? Where can they can find out your events and go support you?
Go to fehertysfirst.org. You'll find out all of the info that you need, and we're very appreciative of any support that we get.
I gotta wrap up with this though. I have a final question.
Yeah.
Dead or alive, military member that you would love to interview?
Well, there are a lot of people, and around the periphery of the military, people like Churchill.
Yeah.
What I wouldn't have given to have spent an hour in his company. People like Thomas Jefferson, just heroes of mine. Chesty Puller, the legendary Marine. That's a difficult one. That's almost as hard to answer as who's my favorite interview.
I bet.
Really, I'm Ray Odierno, who was the chief of the Army, passed away fairly recently. was a great friend of mine. I would love to have been able to spend another hour with Ray. So many, but I'm happy, and I'm happiest when I'm in their company, that's for sure.
This has been just awesome to visit with you and fascinating. Congratulations on what you're doing with Live, but more importantly, what you're doing for our fallen soldiers and our heroes. So thank you so much, David. This has been incredible.
Love you, buddy.
You too, buddy. Yeah, we'll see you down the road.
Daugherty Business Solutions has been enhancing the business of our customers for the last 37 years. How do we do it? Through our expertise in technology, better use of data and analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. We roll up our sleeves and collaborate. We build applications and effectively communicate with our partner clients to bring their goals and objectives to the finish line. Our award-winning Access Point program is a community game changer. With nearly 100 students in the program, mostly young African-American females are making between $55,000 and $60,000 per year right out of high school. That's right, $55,000 to $60,000 a year right after high school graduation. That's when they begin their training. CEO Ron Daugherty believes the talent is equally distributed, but access to that opportunity is not. So here's Access Point, providing more and more opportunity for those in and around our community. It's Daugherty Business Solutions.
Christmas is a time to make memories with the ones we love. Memories of sharing our favorite holiday traditions. Memories of spending time with family. But some kids won't have the memories of opening gifts around the tree. This Christmas, you can make a difference in the lives of Cardinal Glennon kids who won't be home for the holidays. Give your gift today at treeofhope.org and give hope to a child this Christmas.
Are you driving an out-of-warranty car? It's only a matter of time before your out-of-warranty vehicle is in the shop costing you thousands of dollars. Auto repair costs are up nearly 20% from last year, which is 4 times the rate of inflation. If an unexpected breakdown happened today, would you be ready for that? Well, now you can be with a plan through CarShield. Even if your car is just over 3 years old, it's still prone to expensive costs. Your car is more than just getting you from point A to point B. Traveling by car is a way of life. From picking up your kids to going to a new restaurant, cars are a daily essential. When you enroll in a car protection plan through CarShield, you can look forward to the following. The price will never go up no matter how many claims you file, or no matter how high the mileage on your car increases. CarShield offers protection plans that start as low as $100 per month. That's $100 per month. They have repair coverage for up to 5,000 different parts of your vehicle. Plus, when your car breaks down and you're stuck on the side of the road, you get 24/7 coast-to-coast roadside assistance. You also get complimentary towing and rental car options. CarShield has my back when my car breaks down, and they can have yours too. Call CarShield today at 800-465-6550 or visit carshield.com. It's CarShield, proud sponsor of the Golf with Jay Delsing show.
Family Golf and Learning Center. No matter your age or skill level, Family Golf and Learning Center, located in Kirkwood, has something for you. They've got it all. PGA and LPGA instruction, double-decker driving range, par 3 golf course, TrackMan simulators, a large short game green design to help you with all your shots around the green, bunkers, rough, and Zoysia fairway pitching. And now open the Tahoma Bermuda Grass Tees, the best turf to hit from in St. Louis. It's all at Family Golf and Learning Center. To schedule a lesson or to find out more, visit FamilyGolfOnline.com. That's FamilyGolfOnline.com. Family Golf and Learning Center. We make St. Louis better at golf.
I want to welcome Redbird Heating and Cooling to the Golf with Jay Delsing show. You can reach them at 314-320-9507 or on the website redbirdhvac.com. CEOs Jed Dickinson and Jerry Pearson run the area's most responsive and dedicated heating and cooling company that's been conscientiously supporting the St. Louis area for the last decade. Just last month, when my air conditioner stopped working, Jed and his team were at my home at 7 a.m. to replace one unit and then repair the other. your money like it's our money was Jed's statement to me, and the repairs for Unit 2 was less than $200. If you want to work with a family-owned business that you can trust, then call 314-320-9507 or visit them at redbirdhvac.com. That's redbirdhvac.com. This is Jay Delsing coming to you from the Car Shields Golf Studios. I hope you'll join me Sunday mornings from 8 to 10 for Golf with Jay Delsing, presented by Daugherty Business Solutions. That's Golf with Jay Delsing every Sunday morning on 101 ESPN.